We are continuing our card-by-card analysis of 1960, The Making of a President. We hope you'll join us here on Legendary Tactics.
And we are in the final 8 cards here.
Yes.
What a marathon.
Yes. But hey, this has been fun. I've been enjoying
it's been great.
This walk through all the cards here.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So the first one is Give Me a Week.
Yes. 4
the Nixon
campaign
player
points.
loses. Yes, indeed. The Nixon player loses 2 momentum markers and must subtract 1 issue support in each issue.
Yeah, I don't know. It's good if the circumstances are right. Obviously, if Nixon has burned through his momentum markers and doesn't have any or much issue support.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking from the Kennedy perspective. There's a lot of a lot of uses for this actually.
In what way?
Well, I mean, first off, like if you've got Nixon card events in your hand, and you want him, you don't really want him triggering them, then you just play this off the hop. You can sort of get ahead of that.
Yep, very true.
Also, it potentially leads for some damage in if Nixon has some events that he can't cancel.
Yes.
Of Kennedy events, so it kind of is a double-edged sword there.
Yeah, and 2 momentum markers, that's pretty typical. Like most times you don't have many more than
much
that.
more exactly. You don't have much more than 2.
Yeah.
So that probably would drain the momentum markers and
losing the support in
really
each
have
issue.
Nixon scrambling. Yeah.
Although, I mean, obviously Nixon needs to have the 2 momentum markers to lose. And there needs to be significant issue support, for Nixon to lose. Arguably, Nixon would have to be leading each issue for it to really matter.
Yeah. I mean, the issue support for me is it's good, but I think the momentum markers is the much
now
bigger issue.
Here's the question, and maybe this is kind of maybe it's and there is no clear answer, but do you play this early in the turn or late in the turn?
I would play it early. See,
because if you play it early, Nixon loses momentum markers, but the issue support can be fixed. If you play it late...
because for me, like I just said, the momentum markers are much
that's
more
what
the
you see
bigger
as
deal.
More valuable. Yeah, I could go along with that. It's and the issue support still costs campaign points to replace, so it's still... good. And I think I'd prefer...
Is it worth 4 though? That's kind of what I was wondering. Is it actually worth the 4 points?
Yeah,
I think it's dependent on your hand. It depends on the events you have.
Yeah. 4
and
campaign
how many
points
events
is a lot.
Yeah. It is a lot. It is a lot. Yeah.
I mean, even in the issues, you could play. You could play a lot of to the issues just with those 4.
However, you know what? I'm thinking if Nixon does have 2 momentum markers, it's probably worth it.
Yeah.
As long as you have Nixon events in your hand that you don't want triggered.
Yes. And you're also taking away Nixon's ability to block bad events as well. So if there's an unplayable Kennedy event,
that's right.
Then
that's right.
Using 2 momentum markers that would be used to block it, that could definitely be
that really hamstring. So I think I really like putting the screws to Nixon on that, and that would really make him sweat a little. So
yeah. And this could be used in the campaign strategy for Ohio, which is 25 electoral votes. That's very much worth it.
That's a big one,
especially when you see like Pennsylvania. And like New Jersey is normally hard fought, but that's 16. So
yeah, I mean, there's a very easy way for Nixon to mitigate this card. It's not too hard to mitigate if you just play it as your last card and make sure you don't play into the issues till after it's triggered.
That's probably more. What I would do is take the event first and then play into the issues.
That's right.
But still potentially losing 2 momentum markers could still be painful. But
I would make sure I had mine cleared out by turns end there. So.
And again, to play in Ohio with some support checks is great, but geez, 4 campaign points.
I don't know if I wouldn't sacrifice the 4 for that.
Yeah, just on
it's a pretty rich spend.
Yeah, so let's take a look at the next one here. The old Nixon.
Oh boy, another 4 CP.
Yes.
So the Nixon player loses 1 momentum marker. The Kennedy player loses 3 momentum markers.
Yeah. Interesting.
So this is kind of the reverse of what we just read, except it's you both take a hit on 1.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Again, I mean, if Kennedy has a ton of momentum markers, then yes. I
now,
don't.
What if Kennedy has 2?
I know. I was just about to ask that same question. I don't know because you have to lose 1 as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think that's a prerequisite. Like you don't if you don't have any momentum markers, then you've got none to lose.
Yeah, then it's well, do you do it though? Because the other card actually also took support from the issues.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I would say in this game I found if someone is really ahead in momentum markers, it can be kind of troublesome, right? It can be kind of. Because you can't get away with playing any of your opponent's events. They can trigger all of them. And
they can trigger that's right.
Some of yours. So if Kennedy has 3 or more momentum markers, this may be worth it. Probably earlier in the game. If it's later on in the game, in your campaigning right before the election, I would take the 4 campaign points. But I would say it's a situationally useful.
So if you are the Nixon player playing this, do you play it early or late in the game or in the round?
In the round?
Yeah.
I would say you'd want to play it as soon as you can. Early.
But then you're burning one of your own momentum markers.
Yeah.
That's my dilemma. Do you want to try and use that momentum mark? Like say you have 1.
Yeah.
Would you want to try to use it before you play this card?
Yeah, well, sure, but you can't control that, right? Because that's Kennedy. So let's just say keep it basic. So you have 1 momentum marker, Kennedy has 3. Okay,
yep.
So, you have that 1 momentum marker, but that depends on Kennedy playing an event that you want to trigger. So sure,
exactly.
But if Kennedy's playing event after event after event of their own. Of his own, then you have no control when you have 1 momentum marker. You can't burn it. If you have 2, then play a good Kennedy event, block it, and then play.
And then drop this one down.
That's a good follow up. But I would say it's probably best earlier in the turn because you want to make sure
just play it and burn Kennedy's 3, right?
You want to make sure Kennedy's stuck without momentum markers when you play his events, and you want to make sure he can't block any of yours. So
is it worth it if Kennedy only has 2?
I probably
it's
would
high.
Say
it's
not.
A high cost.
It's a very high cost. I would say no. If all things being equal, I would say take the campaign points. Okay, it's like 3 or not at all.
I think for me it would be very dependent on the hand I have. So I had to look at my hand, and if I am loaded with Kennedy events and I was Nixon,
yes.
Then I might still do it for 2 if he only had 2.
Yeah. It's. So. I don't want to say never say whatever. I don't want to say never. Is that right grammatically? I think it is.
I think so.
but at the same time, all things being equal, giving up 4 campaign points, an action round, and a momentum marker for Kennedy to lose 3 momentum markers.
Or 2 even. Yeah.
Or 2. That's a huge cost. 3 possibly because, as I said, it can feel
it balances it out again.
Yeah, like if I've played games where my opponent's ahead in momentum markers and it's no fun at all. They can just totally mess with.
They're unabated,
game.
Right? Yeah.
So.
Okay.
All right. Next up, Soviet economic growth.
All right, 2 CP, and the economy moves up 1 space on the issue track. The leader in economy gains 1 state support in New York.
It's only you're only giving up 2 campaign points to do that. So if you're leading an economy, I'd say that's worth it.
Sure. I mean, you're going to bump yourself up, and you're also going to get one dropped into New York.
Which might take 2 campaign points to do anyway, because you have to move from a different region and play you have your travel costs and then 1 campaign point to drop the state support in New York. So you get a bump in all around, and it's only at the cost of 2 campaign points.
I don't know if I love this event though. I don't know if I love it because
it's not spectacular, but
but if you look at the value payback on this, you're giving up 2 CP for 1 cube in New York, and yes, economy's going up 1, but if it's in the 3rd rank, it's going to the 2nd, or
but it could also that moving up to the 2nd can give you an endorsement, which could be very valuable, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If it stays there, I would say that it's very little downside to this. Other than the fact you don't have the flexibility, you have to put the state support in New York. But again, New York's always going to be contentious. There's no it's the most valuable space on the board. So you're
giving up you're giving up 1 extra CP somewhere, and actually you're having to put 1 into New York, which is never a bad idea.
Yeah, it's never a bad idea. I've had games where my opponents put like 8 state support in New York.
Yeah,
and
just keep
ramping
it up.
Swings back because after 2 cards later, it's down to 1 cube or something.
Right.
It's New York is never safe.
No,
that's just a given.
Yeah.
And New Hampshire, 4. It's not that exciting.
But again, it's a 2 CP
points. And it's safe to play in the debates, and it's safe to play in general. Now, as the opponent, would you spend a momentum marker triggering it?
Absolutely not.
I don't think so. Probably not, unless economy was in 2nd. And you
know what? If it was maybe the very end of the turn, I had a glut of momentum markers I was going to lose anyway.
Okay.
And this thing came up, and I was like, all right, sure.
Yeah.
And I'm leading in the economy.
Yeah. Although if it does bump it up to as a first place issue, then it would give you your momentum marker back, right? So it would be.
I guess that's true. It wouldn't necessarily cost you anything.
No. So, all right, do the honors.
Alrighty, here we go. Next one up. I got to get better at the flipping.
Yes.
It is Herblock. Okay, the Kennedy player may remove 2 Nixon media support cubes from the board.
Very valuable.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, situational. Well, obviously that.
Nixon has to have media support cubes, but other than that, there's no essentially
for 2 CP. That's a great deal.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's essentially what you're doing, because it's worth 2 campaign points. Essentially, what you're doing is you're guaranteeing. It's like you
2 successes.
Take the media play and you draw 2. It's like drawing 2 guaranteed successes out of the bag.
Yeah.
So,
and if that's what you have, I mean, that's. I have come to learn that you do not want your opponent controlling the media.
Yes.
It is annoying.
Yeah, media is very useful.
It's a real hassle. So if now, and it doesn't actually stipulate that you can do it anywhere. So you could take 1 out of the east and
Correct.
1 out of the north,
from the board. Okay. So anywhere on the board.
Yeah. So that's actually even more punishing. You can.
Yeah.
You could potentially take out 2 different areas. Of support.
Oh yeah, absolutely. and so at the cost of only 2, so I would say, and again, Mississippi would be the it's 8 electoral votes. So if you
question there,
if Nixon doesn't have any media cubes, I'd be fine with playing this on the campaign strategy.
Yeah. Oh, for Mississippi, sure.
I mean, all things being equal, assuming Mississippi's in play on some level. Yeah. All right. Next up.
Here we go.
Southern strategy.
Okay. 3 CP. The Nixon player may add a total of 5 state support in the South, no more than 2 per state. Kennedy gains 1 issue support in civil rights.
For 3 campaign points. I don't know. I've got kind of mixed feelings about that. I guess it depends on how much the players are fighting over the South. because
what's interesting to me on this is that civil rights throw in that. You know, the card had me agreeing with it up until that last sentence, and it's like, oh, and I got to give up you lose a civil rights spot.
Yeah, I'd probably lean towards the campaign points, but if the South is being especially
difficult,
I mean, most of the states actually lean towards Kennedy in that, so you either have to have an endorsement there or you have to get a cube. So now again, Texas is there, and Texas is a big deal. So if it helps out in Texas and maybe start some political fires elsewhere that need to be dealt with. So, flip Texas and flip
the South I think is a little North bit
Carolina or something, or I don't know, and then one in Florida. I don't know. That could be decent move.
The South is a little. I think it's a little bit like of a hidden gem. Like there's a lot of like decent. Like I mean, Georgia 12, North Carolina 14, Virginia 12. You know, like I think oftentimes and of course there's Texas, but I think sometimes the South gets passed off as it's small. It's not as worthy of time. But there's a lot of little. Alabama 11, Tennessee 11. So I mean, they're not the Ohios and the Michigans and the Indiana or
Illinois
Illinois.
But no, you're right. I mean,
the Midwest.
There's a lot to be gained there, and I think that both players would be worth it would be worth their time spending time in the South, because arguably the East is great, but really you've got Pennsylvania, New York. Massachusetts, New Jersey, and then the rest of them are pretty unremarkable. There's 4 states that really need your attention. But arguably the South, you could.
There's a lot of decently sized. They're not huge, but I mean, you start. String a few states together, and it's So I don't know. It's just a thought. It's just a general sort of feel I've had chat with you about this, that we sometimes undervalue the South a little bit.
Yes. Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's just something. Most of the action in a lot of games I've played happen in
Midwest,
the East and the Midwest.
New York. Yeah, that's
and
right.
Then eventually,
and Pennsylvania, sure.
Yeah, and then usually when someone goes down to Texas to try and take it, then while they're there, they pick up a few southern states.
They go around and that's right.
But it's but
so I don't know. Getting back to this card, I think. I don't know. This one's very, I think, situational for me.
Yeah, it's okay. It's situationally good, I would say.
Yeah.
So, let's see what we got. Whoa, what happened there?
That was
did a little spinaroo. Congressional Summer Session.
4 CP. Okay, and the Kennedy player suffers a -2 CP to all cards played for the remainder of the turn to a minimum of 1. The Kennedy player must immediately, but without paying normal travel costs, move their candidate token to either Maryland or Virginia.
Yeah. Maryland and Virginia are both kind of off the beaten path. Well, I guess you've got the choice between the East or the South, actually, technically. Now, again, could be very strong.
It's a gambling card.
Yeah. The reason why I feel it's a gamble is because a lot of times these kind of cards can be mitigated by the Kennedy player, in this case, playing the events.
Yes,
so
exactly.
If Kennedy's got some decent events, it in many cases it turns out not to be all that punishing. Where it could be punishing is in the last turn of the game, or last 2 turns of the game, even. But
are you willing to sacrifice 4 CP on that risk?
Well, if it's the last turn of the game, yes, I would say that losing, because the last 2 turns, when you're looking after your debates, you got turn 7 and turn 8. You're doing campaigning like crazy. So if you can play a card that it's possible, because you're going to play 7 cards through or whatever, right? You're going to play. You're going to play 5 cards through, I guess, right? Because you, at any rate, it's the cards that you play if the events aren't favorable, then it can be, it can lose double digits in campaign points.
You basically would need the Kennedy player to play at least 2 cards for the CPs to break even.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that's kind of your benchmark. So
well, yes and no, but it's more about cramping your opponent's style as well. They didn't plan on losing 2 campaign points.
No, they didn't. Yeah.
But I just find a lot of times you can mitigate it by playing around it a little bit and playing for cards for events where you may not have taken the event before, but that's how you handle that.
Right.
But again, I mean, it's something where it can be very punishing or it can be mitigatable, but it does come at a high cost.
Oh, jeez. Can you imagine? You're the Kennedy player. This event is on you, and you have to play. You have a really good Nixon event. You have to mitigate. So you have to mitigate like a 4-banger Nixon event, and you only get 2 CP. So it costs you 2 momentum markers.
Oh yeah.
For 2 CP.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Just that is kind of punishing, actually.
Well, you could always, if you're a Kennedy, you could always hang on. If you wanted to mitigate this, just hang on to it until your last play.
Oh no, yeah,
Take
no,
your
yeah.
campaign
I'm just talking about some potential punishment that the Kennedy would have to endure. That's rather.
But you could work around it if you get the card in hand, then it's
easy.
Actually
it's an easy
great.
fix.
Play the card, take your campaign points, and then let it happen.
As all the last
all that happens is you move your candidate.
Now, what you may want to do as the Kennedy player, though, too, is it's Pennsylvania, so that is no small state.
Yes, that is.
You may want to. You may actually. This is one of the very first big cards. I would consider it.
Yeah.
If I was Kennedy, do I want to?
Yeah, you can bury the event and.
Yeah, put it
get
to
3 support checks in Pennsylvania, which arguably is worth 3 campaign points. So.
Yeah, and I mean, if you could let Nixon think that they've got it, and then it's just a matter of being close enough.
Yes.
So.
But it does, yeah. But it as I said, it's easily mitigated if you choose to. So.
Yeah.
Whistle Stop. This one's one of my favorite events.
This is a great one. Yeah.
I can't see many times when I won't take this for the event.
Right. Well, and the player may spend 7 CP on a campaigning action, expending no more than 1 CP per state.
And, I guess there are times when you may take the 4 campaign points, but I would say that's pretty rare.
It doesn't. Does it cost you if you're moving between the south and
yes,
the
I would
east?
say yes. It doesn't say
it doesn't specify that, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, but this is where you can just go and just run through the south or run through the Midwest.
The Midwest,
you just drop 1 cube on each, or just cancel out your opponent's support or whatever. I think it's a great event. I mean, and
being neutral, it's up for grabs, really.
Yeah. And I can't see, even though it's worth 3 support checks for Texas, I would say, again, this is a great card to get.
Oh, no, it's not. Yeah, I don't think Texas is worth it.
Like, this card actually is one of those that can skew the game and can win the election for you, because you just have to play this on your last action round, and it's
of the last turn,
and it's pretty tough to undo, even if it turns up in turn 7.
That's actually I was just thinking that this could be a broken card for that reason.
Yeah, it requires the timing, right? You can't hold, because you can't hold on to the cards. You'd have to be lucky enough to get it in your last turn. But yes, it could be kind of broken in that sense.
I was just considering a house rule where this, almost like a Twilight Struggle, the early war stages where like this card had to come out. You would shuffle it into the first half of the deck.
Yeah. It feels a little bit like that because, man, like you could literally...
Because you're right, getting pummeled with this on the last play of the game. Like, how can you overcome 7 states getting flipped?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, even if they're smaller, right? Like, you can
that's like 70... Through. That's a minimum of 70 state support you're losing.
Yeah, well, it could be for sure. I mean, depending on where you are, but if you get this card in hand, you would probably be setting yourself up. Like you'd be figuring out, how to reduce the support, to a certain level, get an endorsement in the region, something like that. You'd plan this one out.
I don't know about you, but I'd be lingering around the Midwest with this card.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I think that's probably the best bang for your buck.
Or the South. The South would be great for this.
Well, we talked about that, but if you look at, the Midwest, it would really depend on, but Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri.
Well, heck, even if you did it in the West, as Wisconsin. Say Kennedy, you're still gonna flip, like even assuming like 4 or 5 electoral votes per state, you're still looking at 30, 35, even in the West, which is sparsely populated. You could potentially snag 35 electoral votes.
Yeah.
And really remember that also flips it. It's really worth double that, because you technically are flipping it away from your opponent.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
So as a last card of the game, this is absolutely devastating. This is
it's crushing.
Early on, it's fine. I would still take the event.
I think you always have to take the event.
Yeah.
I think you just do too much damage with it.
And that's why I wouldn't put it in the campaign strategy for either the debates or Texas. This is an event you have to take.
Yep, 100%.
Last card. Ooh, and there we go.
And we get one more turn on it.
Citizens for Nixon Lodge.
Okay, 2 CP, and the Nixon player gains 1 CP to all cards played for the remainder of the turn to a maximum of 5 CP. Wow. Well, that's interesting.
Yes.
That's an interesting card.
I think, again, if you play it at the beginning of your turn, you do give up an action round, and you do give up, it's worth, at least...
it's a bit situational, because you'd want to make sure that you have at least 2 cards in your hand that you're going to be able to probably 3 cards actually.
I would 3. You got to plan on playing 3 cards for the campaign points for sure.
Yeah, if you're not going to play 3, then don't play this event.
Yeah, but if you have 3 or more, arguably it's pretty rare. I find usually most times I'm playing at least a couple of events.
Yeah, 2 to 3 is about what you'd probably play in a round.
Yeah, so even though this seems like such an amazing card, it's one of those things that is a major difference between this game and Twilight Struggle, because this would be an obvious headline in Twilight Struggle.
Yes,
but in this game where you need to take a turn to, because you're playing your 5 cards through. Really, at best, this is a +4, right? Because you need to take take the action points for that.
Exactly.
Right. So at best, it's a +4, and so in other words, you're gonna have to take this event on the first card of the turn, and then you're gonna have to play at least 3 of the next 4 cards for their campaign points.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
and that's a lot of
and even then, arguably, it's not. It
is only worth 2 CP. So it's not this huge. You're not expending copious amounts of CP on the card, but
But I guess the downside is that if you play it again, because you give up those 2 CP and the action round to play it, and so at best you have 4 campaign points
that you can pull out of it. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's worth to not take this event.
Yeah, I would kind of lean towards not taking this event most times. Arizona's not really going to be worth it's not going to be worth putting in the campaign strategy. So I'd probably actually lean more towards taking the 2 campaign
or put in the
points.
election. You mean for 4? Yeah.
Unless you have one heck of a lot of campaign point cards you're looking to play. If you don't have any good events. And you're just looking where it is nice, though, I will say, is that if you do have a low campaign point hand, if you got a bunch of 2s, and it is nice to get that boost to 3, because to be able to play 3 in a burst or 4 in a burst is generally a good idea.
But you know, like you said earlier, never say never. But I mean, if you had a handful of events that are where you weren't going to play the events, you know, then sure, this card is totally worth it for Nixon. But
I would say, and obviously, if Kennedy gets it in hand, just play it at the end.
Yep, easy mitigating.
Very easy to mitigate this one. So. Yeah. So that is our series on.
It brings us to the end.
Yes, card by card through every single card in 1960, the making of a president.
Yeah, great game, by the way. I really, this is a favorite of mine.
Yes. Oh, yes. This is a game I'm always happy to play. It's always going to be welcome on my game.
Yeah, on the table there for sure. Get it out. Yep.
So thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far through the entire series, through all 9 parts of it, we really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes.
And we hope you got a lot of value out of all this and our discussions on strategy. So
and if one thing I did want to throw out to the viewers out there is, if you have an idea on Whistle Stop or your own opinions, specifically on Whistle Stop, let us know. I'd love to see the feedback on that and what your thoughts are out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks so much for watching. I'm NATO.
I'm Cax.
And this is
Legendary Tactics.